Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ustadh, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. Can you see me?
I can see you and hear you clearly, alhamdulillah.
Okay. Shall I keep the same angle for the video, or shall I make it portrait?
You're currently in portrait right now. If landscape is easy for you, that would be better, inshallah. But whatever's comfortable for you. Portrait is fine.
Okay. Does that look okay? Is that fine?
That is better, yeah, alhamdulillah.
How do I see my own footage so that I can fix it? Because I'm trying to put it down on a stand.
Okay, are you on the phone, Ustadh? Or on the computer?
Yeah, I'm on the phone. Yeah, that's correct. Yes, I'm on the phone.
Okay. On the phone, I'm not sure if you can see yourself. I'm not good
Right.
with Zoom. I'm still new to it. So
Can you see me?
we can see you clearly. Your picture's fine, Ustadh. Alhamdulillah.
So now it's portrait, right?
Landscape, horizontal, which is better.
Oh, it's better. Okay,
Yes,
that's fine. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
We'll just wait a few minutes, Ustadh, for people to pray Maghrib, inshallah, and then we'll start in maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. So let me try a new thing. Okay, no, this is not. Okay. Okay, can you see me?
Yep, alhamdulillah.
Is the frame fine?
Frame is fine, yep.
Okay. That's fine. Just making sure that everything is fine.
Yes, he'll do the job, inshallah.
Okay. So we're not starting yet, are we?
Yeah, a few minutes, inshallah, then we'll get going.
Inshallah. So we're not
Maybe
live online. I mean, we're not live online yet, are we?
We're live on our iStock YouTube channel. But yeah, I think they'll probably edit it later on as well.
Okay, yeah, so that's perfect. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah, all well.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much for inviting me to address this important topic. We all need to know about it, inshallah. So what we can do is, inshallah, talk about the topic when we talk about it, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And are you guys back to the uni? Are you attending classes in person, or is it online?
So all mine are online. So I'm not in London, actually. I'm in Hull, North East Yorkshire.
Okay.
So
okay,
I'm doing all my classes on Zoom.
Okay. Is the frame okay? Is the frame okay? Can you see all of my head and beyond, or my head is being?
The top of your head is cut off, but it's fine, inshallah.
Is that okay now?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, so that you can see me clearly. Like, I mean, sometimes when the head is cut, it's not right for the for the audience.
If you move around, then yeah, that's fine.
So people are praying at the moment.
I think some people are praying, and I think maybe, yeah, I think just a few minutes and then we'll go. I think most of us, or a good chunk of us, are here anyway.
Okay, so we are actually live on YouTube right now, right?
On the iStock YouTube, yeah.
Okay, so people can join us there as well.
Yes, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. So is it like Islamic Awareness Week at the moment, or
Charity Week?
Is it
Charity Week.
Charity Week? Okay.
And
great.
The theme is Islamic history for this year. So
okay.
we thought to bring you in for that because you're a specialist in that topic, mashallah.
Yeah, much needed.
Of course,
much needed for the world to learn from history.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think Ustadh Adnan has joined us as well, and he's.
Is he here as well? Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, he's posting some funny comments. He posted shocking. I don't know what he finds shocking, but okay.
Alhamdulillah. I'm a big fan, Ustadh, of yourself and your son Musa, of your work online. So it's a pleasure for me to be hosting you. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm honored. And inshallah, hopefully, when things go back to normal, we can visit the university and do some stuff there as well.
Inshallah.
And Musa said I posted that privately. That wasn't meant to be public. This is why be very careful when you post things, even privately, even when you do them privately, because if people are not watching, Allah is watching you, right? So that's more that's more important.
100%.
Public message from Ustadh Adnan.
Okay, so it is 10 past. I'm not sure if we want to get going now. If the bros behind the scenes can give me a yes or a no.
Entirely up to you, inshallah. Hopefully some more people will be joining us, inshallah, because I have posted the link on my social media platforms, and after people finishing, after they finish prayer, inshallah, they'll join us.
Inshallah. Hudayfa says to you, Ustad, that he likes your shalwar kameez.
Yes, I like them too. I like this dress code.
I'm wearing a kurta as well, but not the shalwar. It's normal trousers.
It's a very comfortable dress code.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
much more comfortable than trousers, tight trousers and tight tops. I don't know why people choose to wear that. Sometimes I have to wear that as well, but it's a lot more comfortable. Shalwar kameez.
100%. Agreed.
Yeah. It's ancient, actually. It's very cultural as well. It's ancient. It's an ancient dress code.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are we starting? Hudayfa, Jakif, can start? Okay. Is Reciter here? Good question. I think I saw him in the list. Yes, he's here. Okay. So I'll get going then. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Verily, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may He send peace and blessings on His final messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Jazakumullahu khairan for attending our first speaker event of the year for Charity Week 2020, titled Lost Islamic History, with our esteemed guest today, of course, Ustadh Adnan Rashid. And before proceeding with today's event and an intro, we will, of course, begin with the most perfect and powerful of words, that is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I will be inviting Brother Mohsin to recite for us, inshallah.
Can you guys hear me well?
Alhamdulillah, loud and clear.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فيقول هاؤم اقرءوا كتابيه إني ظننت أني ملاق حسابيه وهو في عيشة راضية في جنة عالية قطوفها دانية كلوا واشربوا هنيئا بما أسلفتم في الأيام الخالية وأما من أوتي كتابه بشماله فيقول يا ليتني لم أوت كتابيه ولم أدر ما حسابيه يا ليتها كانت القاضية ما أغنى عني ماليه هلك عني سلطانيه خذوه فغلوه ثم الجحيم صلوه ثم في سلسلة ضرعها 70 ذراعا فاسلكوه إنه كان لا يؤمن بالله العظيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين.
Jazakallahu khairan for the beautiful recitation, Mohsin. Okay, to proceed with an intro to the speaker, of course, Ustadh Adnan Rashid is very famous in the UK scene especially. He's a historian with a specialty in the history of Islamic civilization, comparative religion, and Quran and Hadith sciences. He also has a keen interest in Islamic numismatics, ancient manuscripts, and antiquities. He's debated many high-profile figures in the field of politics, history, and Muslim Christian theologies. Ustadh also holds both a bachelor's and master's in history from the University of London. He has lectured in many prestigious international universities, including University of Warsaw, American University of Beirut, Trinity College Dublin, Oxford University, and LUMS in Lahore. Ustadh Adnan has represented Islam and Muslims, appearing on a number of radio and TV platforms, including the BBC Asia Network, Press TV, Iqra TV, Islam Channel, etc., as well as delivering plenty of content online on platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Sapiens Institute. So fitting with our theme for Charity Week this year, 2020 Charity Week, today's event is titled Lost Islamic History. We aim to uncover some gems of history that the average Muslim might not know about. And we also hope this event will foster an interest in history for all of us, as there's plenty of lessons and benefits we can derive from studying those who came before us. Before I hand over to Ustadh, I believe we have a Slido Q&A on the screen right now. So if you have any questions for Ustadh, please send them in to that Slido. Just go to Slido, sli.do, type in the code, and then post your questions there, inshallah. So with that, I'll hand over to Ustadh.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah ma ba'd. A'udhu billahi samir alim min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa ma arsalnaka illa rahmatan lil alameen. Respected brothers and sisters Islam, I'm honored to be talking to you today about a very, very important topic, which is the lost Islamic history. It is a general topic, and I will be addressing it in general terms with some specific points. And I wish to achieve a number of goals by this lecture today. One of those goals is to encourage Muslim students around the world in general, and at UCL in particular, to look into the history of Islam in order to better appreciate the Muslim civilization. Okay, one of the greatest achievements of Islam and Muslims was and is the great, the magnificent, the brilliant, the incredible Muslim civilization. It is a broad term, and to summarize some of the characteristics of this civilization, I would like to mention the achievements of our predecessors in this regard. For example, in philosophy, in science, in literature, in poetry, in intellectual pursuits, and producing works of gigantic scale, whereby the world at large immensely benefited from their works. So the Muslim civilization actually starts from the birth of the Prophet of Islam himself, okay, and it ends with us. It is with us today. It still lives on within our communities, within our culture, within our languages, within our achievements that still continue to this day. The topic is very interesting, and it is very intriguing as well at the same time, the lost Islamic history or the lost Muslim history. There is a book written by Firas al-Khatib, who has done an excellent job in writing on this topic. He is an amazing author, mashallah, may Allah bless him. I've never met with him, but his book, Allah has blessed it with a lot of popularity. You can see the book Even in Pakistan, on certain bookshelves where people are selling books on the street, you see this book, The Lost Islamic History. I am not going to necessarily talk about that particular book, and I don't plan to repeat that content in this lecture. Using that topic and that title, which is very, very interesting, I will be raising some other questions for the audience. But I definitely very, very strongly recommend that book, The Lost Islamic History by Firas Al-Khatib. It is a very powerful, a very interesting book. You must get your hands on it so that you can get an introduction into what the Muslim civilization is and what it had done for humanity at large. So, brothers and sisters, I want to very quickly address a couple of points. In my view, something that wasn't, necessarily covered by other authors. What is really hidden? What is really lost when it comes to Islamic history? Okay, in my view, much of the Islamic history, unfortunately, is lost. Lost because we have lost it ourselves. We haven't put enough attention towards it. We haven't really put an effort into learning our own history as it should have been learnt. There are many historians out there, people are writing books, right? I'm talking about Muslims in particular. Muslims in general, and I'm not talking about exceptions, I'm talking about the general masses. You know, if we were to travel from Morocco to Bangladesh, and I have traveled in many of the Muslim countries around the world, one of the subjects Muslims are most ignorant on is history in general, and the history of Islam in particular. If you were to ask basic questions about even the life of the Prophet ﷺ, which every Muslim must know, in order to love someone, you have to know the person. You can't claim to love someone and not know the person, right? It is a condition of Iman. It is a condition of faith for believers, for Muslims, to believe in the Prophet of Islam, and not only believe in him, love him more than anyone else. So you must understand that in order for you to complete your faith, to have true faith, you must love the Prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a condition of Iman for us. The Prophet himself sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated in an authentic report, the Prophet said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, La yu'minu ahadukum hatta akuna ahabba ilayhi min walidihi wa waladihi wa nasi ajma'in. That you will not truly believe until I become more beloved to you, more than your parents, your children, and mankind put together. So you cannot possibly love anyone else other than the Prophet ﷺ, or more than him. And that's when you become true believers. That's when you become true believers. Not when you claim it, not by tongue service or lip service, as to say, or by moving your tongue or just saying words. That's not going to make you love the Prophet ﷺ. You truly love the person you know, and you want to know. How do I know that? Today, people love footballers, people love music artists, people love movie stars, people love sportsmen, for example, or sportswomen, right? How do we know that? Because when you walk into someone's room who is truly an admirer of someone, you will see the poster on the wall. You will see books on that person on the shelf. And this person will spend a lot of time reading about this person, either online or offline. Okay? People who love, for example, Ronaldo will read about him. They want to follow the gossip about him. They want to know what woman is he dating, or who did he get married to, and how many children does he have, and how much is he worth. Likewise, people who love these movie stars, for example, people who admire Daniel Craig for his acting in his James Bond series, they will follow him diligently. They will know what kind of clothes he wants to wear and what he wears. They will follow his hairstyle. They will want to talk like him. They will want to walk like him. And it is but natural. When you love someone, you want to know them. And if the Muslims truly love the Prophet ﷺ, they would want to know him. They would read about him. They would know how he smiles, how he talks, how he walks, how he ate, how he dealt with people, with his wives, how he dealt with his children, how he dealt with his friends, how he dealt with the enemy, for example. All these things will be known because you love him. And it is a condition of faith to love him. And if you don't know him, if you don't study him, you don't know about him, then you don't truly love him. And if you don't truly love him, you cannot be truly a believer. You cannot be a believer. So we have lost our history in general. And I don't want to put people down because there is a good news following as well. There is a good news coming after some criticism in the beginning. So we, the Muslims in general, we don't really study the life of the Prophet ﷺ. We don't do justice to it. We don't even look into the man's life, lest we might love him. Okay, so that's the first point I wanted to make. So history is generally lost to us. Okay, we have lost our history because we don't study it. In the past, it was thoroughly studied. You know, a couple of centuries ago, before the colonial period, when the Muslim civilization was the dominant civilization in the world, to an extent where people were learning the Arabic language and the Persian language, and later on some other languages to communicate with the Muslims, because Muslims are so influential economically, militarily, politically, educationally, intellectually, scientifically. Okay, Muslims were the topmost people in the world for over 1,000 years. And it is that particular dominance in all these good fields we call that particular achievement, or that period, we call it loosely the Muslim civilization, which stretched from Al-Andalus, from Spain, to all the way to China, right? And all of this land, or all of this civilization, was carved by, of course, the teachings of Islam. So the lost Islamic history, in my opinion, is the history in general we have lost because of not studying it. And there are specific aspects of that history that have been lost, even more so than history in general. So not only that we don't study our history in general, starting with the life of the Prophet and his followers and their followers, and later on all the Muslim dynasties, for example, the Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Ottomans, the Mughals, the Ayyubids, the Delhi Sultanate, for example, okay, the Seljuks, for example, okay, all the major and minor dynasties that have gone through a lot of experiments and experiences in the past. We not only that we don't study them, we don't study what gave rise to the Muslim civilization. Okay, point number one, what gave rise to the Muslim civilization? Why did the Muslim civilization come about in the first place? That particular idea, that particular aspect of our history is truly lost. We don't know why the Muslim civilization became so prominent, so dominant in the world. For over 1,000 years, the Muslims were the most powerful people in the world. I repeat, and I'm not exaggerating, okay? And you can find references in many books I will be quoting later on. I mean, I will be giving reference to you. I will be doing some book recommendations so that you can go and study and check these facts. For over 1,000 years, the Muslims were the most dominant people in the world, in education, in science, in philosophy, in literature, in intellectual activities, in pursuit of knowledge and arts, in politics, and in military expansions, you name it. Muslims were very, very influential. And one of the reasons why this Muslim civilization succeeded is because the way this civilization was carved in the first place. So that's one point I will be addressing very quickly in this lecture, inshallah. The point that has been lost, right? As I said, we have generally, unfortunately, lost our history because we don't study it. And Malcolm X, once upon a time, he said that if you want to abuse, use, and misuse a people, or subdue a people for that matter, take the history away from them. And there are many ways to take the history away from them. You get them busy in things that will continue to keep them more busy, right? And when they are busy making money, running after careers where they are just workers, they are workers, they are, as they put it, cannon fodder, okay? They are simply being used in a grand scheme of things, and they don't wake up to the purpose of life. They don't know who they are, where they came from, where they're going. All these questions are very important, what we call the existential question, okay, or existential questions for that matter. What is the purpose of life? Why were we created? Where are we going? What are we supposed to do? So when people become career hungry, when they start to look down upon people who study humanities, when they start to look down upon people who are pursuing intellectual subjects like philosophy, history, sociology, okay, anthropology, then it is a decline. So in the Muslim world, if you travel from Morocco and travel to Morocco from Morocco to Bangladesh, and if you speak to people, most people, what do they want to do when they study? Firstly, why are they studying? They're studying because they want to fill their stomachs. Okay, they want to become something or someone. And why do they want to become something and someone? Because they want to earn money. Mostly, I'm not saying all people are like that. Of course, there are exceptions and there are great people out there. I'm not criticizing everyone. I'm saying most people from Morocco to Bangladesh, this large stretch of land, which still contains, much of the Muslim civilization, whatever remains of it. When you speak to people here, people want to become doctors. Okay, why? Because they want to become doctors to have a career in life. They want to become lawyers. They want to become engineers. They want to become, for example, possibly pilots. They want to go into fields that they can make money with, right? Hardly anyone you will find who wants to study humanities just to understand life, just to learn from our past experiences, just to learn from past civilizations. What did the Romans do? What did the Greeks do? What did the Muslims do? What did the Christians do? Okay, what did the Babylonians do? What happened to the Assyrians? What happened to the Achaemenids, right? What happened to all these civilizations, the Egyptian civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization? What happened to all these people? Most people are not interested in that because they think that doesn't bring in money. That doesn't fill your stomach. And consequently, most people have become money driven when they study. The purpose of the education is to eventually make some money and make a life out of that money and die at the end of it. But that's not what we were made for. We, at least the Muslims in particular, we were given a responsibility, and that is to make this world a better place. You don't make this world a better place by just making money and having an earning. Rather, you make it a better place by learning about your past and repeating the virtues. And you can only do that when you know about the past. So the first point that we have lost in our history is how we came to realize the Muslim civilization. How was it born? The second point is we have been made to think that the golden age or the greatest achievement of the Muslim civilization was just advancement in science, progress in science. Because Muslims produced scientists like Abul Qasim al-Zahrawi, Ibn al-Haytham, Ibn Sina, okay, no doubt. Let me quickly give you a glimpse into that achievement, very quickly, in case people are not aware of it, because I'm talking primarily to UCL students, and later on this lecture will be put on for a larger audience, inshallah, so that people elsewhere can listen to this talk. For you, let me quickly give you a glimpse into the achievements of the Muslim civilization, which many people focus on. And this is the second point I will be addressing very quickly in this lecture, in this short lecture. Okay, the first point is what gave rise to the Muslim civilization. If you were to ask this question, most people wouldn't know the answer, right? And once it had risen, okay, what was the greatest achievement? This is the second point. What was the greatest achievement? And both of these points have been lost. This is where we are lost, I believe, truly lost. And until and unless we know these 2 points, we will not be able to repeat them. We will not be able to even resuscitate whatever remains of the Muslim civilization. So this is why it's very important for us to understand this, inshallah. So these 2 points I want to address very quickly, brothers and sisters. How did the Muslim civilization came to prominence and came to, I mean, why? How was it realized? And the second point is, what was the best aspect of it? What was so special about it? Okay. So the glimpse I was going to discuss is the fact that most people think the greatest achievement of the Muslim civilization was scientific advancement. Okay. For example, what happened in Islamic Spain, Al-Andalus, the Golden Age. The Golden Age is usually narrowed down to some scientists and their works. The invention of astrolabe and great achievements, no doubt. I'm not belittling these achievements. Definitely great achievements, beautiful achievements, achievements that we are proud of. And much has been written on these achievements. There are so many books. One book in particular I will recommend strongly. And brothers and sisters, as I go along, I will be recommending books. So please take notes, inshallah. And you can Google the titles and you will get the details of the book. Hidden Debt to Islamic Civilization. There is one book in particular I strongly recommend for everyone. Okay. Hidden Debt to Islamic Civilization. Apart from Firas al-Khatib's The Lost Islamic History, this is another work I would strongly recommend for Muslim students to see what actually lies hidden under shelves or under bookshelves, okay, in books. You'll be fascinated, you'll be blown away, you'll be completely lost for words when you go through this book, when you realize the achievement of Islam and Muslims in the form of the Muslim civilization. And in this book, the author, Salahuddin al-Jazairi, he collects a lot of information on some of the greatest achievements. And there you go, there's a link in the comment section. You can see the link and you can look at the book I'm talking about. Okay, the Hidden Debt to Islamic Civilization. In this book, the author addresses a lot of the stuff that has been deliberately hidden. No doubt, a lot of this achievement of the Muslims in the past, from Al-Andalus to China, has been hidden for a very long time. Systematically, it's being suppressed. Okay, it has been systematically suppressed. And many authors, for all the way from the 19th century to the current day, have highlighted this point. And I'm not talking about Muslim imams or Muslim traditional scholars. I'm talking about Western academics who have realized that there is something wrong when it comes to studying the achievements of the Muslim civilization. Okay, for example, John William Draper, in his book, A History of the Intellectual Development of Europe, okay, which he published in the 19th century, in the mid 19th century. In this book, he highlights as to how some Western institutions and scholars had deliberately, systematically hidden the debt we owe to the Muslim civilization, the Western civilization in particular. Okay, and there are many scholars who have highlighted in a similar way this particular suppression of facts. And this particular suppression of facts has also been highlighted by a modern scholar. Her name is Maria Rosa Menocol. And the book is titled, if I'm not mistaken, the book is titled The Arabic Role in European Medieval Literature, something like that. The Arabic Role in European medieval literature. I hope someone can find the book and post a link here. The author is Maria Rosa Menocol. Menocol is M-E-N-O-C-A-L, right? And this book is titled The Arabic Role or the Islamic Role in Medieval Literature, something like that. And in this book, she acknowledges the fact that the Westerners, oh, there we go. Okay. Arabic role, medieval literary history. I mean, the link is there. You can see the link online in the comment section. Thank you for posting that comment. I really appreciate this admin work being done in the background. May Allah bless you, whoever's doing it. There you go. The Arabic role in medieval literary history, a forgotten heritage, by Maria Rosa Menakov. And this book was published in 2006, if I'm not mistaken. In this book, she acknowledges that the Europeans find it difficult to acknowledge any debt towards the Muslim civilization. And believe me, brothers and sisters, the details are far too many for me to go through in one short lecture, right? And there's a reason why I'm talking about this stuff. Although I don't believe these achievements I am addressing right now are the greatest achievements. The greatest achievements of the Muslim civilization lie elsewhere. But I am simply mentioning these things so that you are aware of these achievements, so that you can actually go and look into these books and read about these achievements if you are not already aware of them. But many people, when they talk about the achievements of the Muslim civilization, they always focus on, when they do talk about it, they always focus on points like scientific advancement the Muslims made, right? Muslim observatories, for example, Muslim works in astronomy. The first science at the University of Oxford that was taught was the science of astronomy, taken directly from Al-Andalus, from Islamic Spain, right? Works on astrolabe, for example, an instrument used to measure lengths, widths, distances, and even navigate through seas, right? Astrolabe was an amazing instrument, pioneered in Muslim Spain, and then later on, consequently introduced into mainland Europe. Okay, then there are other achievements in other fields. For example, literature. You know, Muslims, subhanallah, they produce some absolutely fascinating literature. And I'm not talking about Rumi only. You know, Rumi was one of the poets who, of course, is one of the figures in the Muslim history who is very much hyped in the West for secular reasons. Even Omar Khayyam has been secularized by Western authors. When they translate his works, they focus mainly on some of the secular or pleasure-giving, hedonistic aspects of his poetry, rather than focusing on the spiritual aspects of the poetry of Rumi and Omar Khayyam. Okay, I'm talking about people like Ibn Hazm from Al-Andalus, you know, who wrote a long poem on love, the concept of love, and it is called The Necklace of the Dove, Tawq al-Hamama, for example. Okay, a literature produced in Mughal India, literature produced during the Delhi Sultanate period, like Amir Khusro, a Persian poet who created amazing divans, you know, collections of poetry, and the Arabic poet Al-Mutanabbi, for example. Okay, there are so many achievements in literature, in science, in book collecting. The largest library in the world, brothers and sisters, were in Spain, in Damascus, in Baghdad. Okay, and please keep in mind that I haven't yet come to those 2 points I want to address. I'm simply mentioning these things passingly so that you are aware of this achievement. A lot of people think that I am going to talk about all these things, scientific advancement and all the other achievements Muslims have, enjoyed and made in the past. But I'm going to talk about 2 different aspects of the history we have lost. And that history has been lost purely because we have deliberately ignored that history. We haven't really looked into these 2 questions. The first question, to repeat it again, to remind those who joined us later, the first question is, what gave rise to the Muslim civilization? The second question is, what was the greatest achievement of the Muslim civilization? Okay, but for now, I'm still introducing what the Muslim civilization did. Okay, some of the greatest libraries in the world were in Al-Andalus. Okay, and in Baghdad, in Damascus, and other places. Okay, so am I going to talk about all that as the hidden or the lost Islamic history? No. Let me surprise you, no. Okay, and I have recommended some sources for you to go and look into these aspects of the Muslim civilization, which are very often talked about by many scholars, even though even these things are hidden. even these things are pretty much, unfortunately, lost from the Muslims, partly because we don't want to study these fields. We don't want to know how the Muslims influenced the world for the last 1,000 years, if not more. And where can we find these books, right? We really need to look into these things. Once we have understood the true extent of the Muslim role in the making of the modern world, okay, then the most important questions are, what gave rise to these achievements in the first place? And what was the best achievement? Having introduced very briefly some of the aspects of the Muslim civilization, which most people talk about when they talk about lost Islamic history, I want to go on to these two important points. And having addressed them, I will then take your questions, inshallah. Point number one, what gave rise to the Muslim civilization? One of the most important questions hardly anyone addresses. And I will tell you what gave rise to this great civilization. I have a golden chain of events. I call it, to simplify things, the golden chain of events. Okay. This golden chain of events will answer both these questions. What gave rise to the civilization, and what was the greatest achievement of this civilization? Okay, I repeat, these two questions, these 2 points I want to address as the main points of the lost Islamic history. These are the 2 main points, in my opinion, that have been lost from the Muslims, right? Point number 1 is what gave rise to the Muslim civilization. Point number 2 is what was the greatest achievement. So the golden chain of events will give answers to both these questions. Okay, what is this golden chain of events? There are 4 points in this golden chain of events. Okay, or 4 events. You can call them 4 events in this golden chain of events. Okay, and all of these 4 events are interlinked. One gave rise to the other. Okay, and you will see how. Point number 1, event number 1 is the Quran, the revelation of the Quran, the advent of the Quran in the 7th century in the Arabian desert. Event number 1, the Quran came, the Quran emerged, the Quran was revealed, it was sent down. Point number 1. Event number 2, justice, the concept of justice that came from the Quran. Remember that point, brothers and sisters. Remember these 4 points I'm going to address and mention, because this is where you will find answers to the reasons of success of the Muslim civilization and whatever it achieved later on. So justice that came from the Quran. The Quran was revealed, or the Quran came, okay, and it gave a peculiar sense of justice, which was very specific to Muslims. Okay. From that justice came peace. From that justice came peace, and from this peace came progress. So to go backwards, there can be no progress without peace. There can be no peace without justice. And when it comes to the Muslim civilization, stretching from Al-Andalus to China for over 1,000 years, there could be no justice without the Quran, because the justice we are talking about from Al-Andalus to northern China, okay, was brought by the Quran. So this golden chain of events gives the answer. The Quran came and it taught a concept of justice to the early believers. The Quran told the believers, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Oh Muhammad, we sent you not except as a mercy for the world. So you are to deliver mercy to the world. Okay. And then Quran in chapter 4, verse 135, and then chapter 5, verse number 8, the Quran specifically addresses the concept of justice. Oh, who you believe, be just, even if it goes against you, do justice. And do not do injustice just because you like someone. Sorry, or you dislike someone. Okay? If you dislike someone, do not avoid justice. Rather, do justice, because God, Allah, loves the just. So the Quran put maximum emphasis on justice, which was achieved by the Muslims in the early age of Islam. during the early Islamic conquest. Okay. Now, to address that point, I recommend a book. Okay, you must get this book. It is titled The Preaching of Islam by Professor Thomas Walker Arnold. And if you are listening, brothers and sisters, if someone is still listening, please post the link in the comment section again so that people can follow it, inshallah. There you go. You have it there. Preaching of Islam, Professor Thomas Walker Arnold. This particular book will tell you practically, and this book will demonstrate to you through evidence from history that indeed the Muslims did justice, which was point number two in the golden chain of events after Islam emerged in the 7th century. So the Muslims emerged because they followed the Quran, they believed in the Quran, and then they went out conquering. Why did they conquer all that land? Of course, the Islamic theory is because the Muslims, they wanted to take the justice of Islam to other nations, and they did. And did they deliver that justice to other nations is a very good question. Okay, so Preaching of Islam by Thomas Walker Arnold, the second edition in particular, not the first edition, which was published in 1896. I'm talking about the second edition, the 1913 edition. It is information packed. It is an encyclopedia of information on early Islamic conquests and what occurred as a result. It's an amazing book. So you will see evidence with regards to the justice Muslims delivered to other nations when they took the land in Egypt, in Syria, in Spain, and in much of Central Asia. Okay, so that point will be addressed there in that book. The next point is peace that resulted from that justice, because when there is justice, there will be peace. There will be peace. There will be harmony. And Muslims enabled that harmony. Okay, Muslims enabled that harmony. Okay, because when Muslims delivered justice to the Jews and the Christians and to Zoroastrians and even to the Buddhists and Hindus in India, okay, people were able to live in peace together. And I'm not claiming a utopia, brothers and sisters. I'm not claiming that it was a perfect world carved by the Muslims, because humans are imperfect. The system was great. The system that was revealed upon them was absolutely magnificent. When it was followed, it produced amazing results. It brought people together. The Jews and the Christians and the Muslims lived side by side, not only in Al-Andalus, but all the way up to China. Okay, Maria Rosa Menocol, again, is an amazing author, and she paid a lavish tribute to the convivencia, the coexistence Muslims had achieved in Al-Andalus, in Islamic Spain in particular. Okay, and the book she authored is titled The Ornament of the World. In this book, The Ornament of the World, mashallah, brother or sister, whoever you are working on posting these links, may Allah bless you. You're doing an amazing job. The Ornament of the World by Maria Rosa Menocol is a lavish tribute to that great coexistence between the Muslims, Jews, and Christians, whereby they work together for the common good of humanity. This is where the Jews and the Christians could walk into the mosque and sit in lectures delivered by Muslim scholars. Okay, these lectures were not only on theology, for example, sciences like Hadith and Tafsir and Arabic literature or Arabic grammar or poetry. Rather, these lectures in the Cordoba Mosque, in particular, and in other mosques in Al-Andalus in general, ranged from lectures on, for example, astronomy, lectures on medicine, lectures on hydraulics, lectures on mathematics, and many, many more fields. Okay, a lot of this Arabic literature was produced in Al-Andalus by Jews, by Christians, and by Muslims. They were together as brothers in humanity producing this literature in the Arabic language. And then this knowledge was later on translated for the Europeans into the Latin language. And through Latin, the Europeans, when I say the Europeans, I mean Western Europeans, for example, in places like Germany, France, and Britain in particular, they received all this Arabic knowledge from Spain, translated into the Latin language. And this is how we got the 12th century Renaissance, and later on the 14th and 15th century, not 14th, sorry, 15th and 16th century Renaissance, okay, in Italy and elsewhere. So a lot of this can be looked into a book authored by George Saliba. George Saliba, his surname is spelled Saliba. George Saliba has written a book, the Arabic role in the European Renaissance. Again, I might be mistaken in the title, but if you find it, please post it. The Arabic Role in the European Renaissance by George Saliba, published by the Columbia University Press. He talks about how the Arabic knowledge on fields like astronomy influenced the European Renaissance. Okay, so all of this progress came about by that coexistence. Thank you for posting that link. Okay, Islamic Science and the Making of the European Renaissance. That's the title. Islamic Science and the Making of the European Renaissance by George Saliba. Okay, please study it. It's published by the Columbia University Press. Okay, so all of this was achieved, of course, by that coexistence. That coexistence was the greatest achievement of the Muslim civilization. Okay, how it was achieved, brothers and sisters, I've already talked about it. The Quran. You cannot separate the tree from the fruit, or the seed from the tree. Okay, you cannot ignore the seed and look at the tree, or the fruit that comes from that tree. The fruit of the Muslim civilization is absolutely amazing. It is absolutely magnificent, which I briefly touched upon. And if you want to know more of this fruit, then you go to that book, The Hidden Debt to Islamic Civilization, which has been mentioned already. Okay, that fruit, which is described in that particular book and other books I have mentioned, cannot be separated from the seed. There is no Islam without the Quran, and there is no Muslim civilization without Islam. Period. Full stop. Okay, you cannot possibly jump to some extremist groups and their actions today and link them to the Prophet. This is a very important point you have to remember, brothers and sisters. You cannot, if you are a just, if you are a fair person, if you are a fair, objective researcher, you cannot jump from the actions of an extremist group, a group produced by geopolitical occurrences in a particular region, and attribute those barbaric and uncivilized actions that possibly were most probably influenced by Hollywood movies to the Prophet of Islam. You cannot attribute to the Prophet of Islam. You cannot attribute actions potentially, possibly influenced by Hollywood in the Middle East, done by a bunch of nutters, to the Prophet of Islam. You can't just make this bow, okay, and ignore whatever falls in between. 1,400 years, all our libraries, all our scholars, all our, influential leaders, generals, thinkers, poets, authors, scientists, theologians. You can't ignore all of them. You can't jump from the 7th century into the 21st century in Iraq or Syria, for example, and link some barbaric actions to one of the greatest men in history who produced whatever fell between his time and what is happening today. Even though he doesn't have any link with what is happening today. Some haters out there deliberately, according to a well-planned Islamophobic strategy, link these things to the Prophet and ignore all the achievements of the Muslim civilization that came directly from the book he brought from Allah and his teachings. So remember, the Quran is the seed, and the tree and the fruit is the Muslim civilization. So it was the Quran that gave rise to the Muslim civilization. That aspect is completely forgotten and lost, unfortunately. So this is how we need to link the Quran to whatever happened throughout the Muslim civilization. And the way you link that, or the way you connect that chain, is that golden chain of events with 4 events: the Quran, the concept of justice that came from the Quran, and peace that came from that justice, and then progress that came from that peace. Okay, so that coexistence, that tolerance, that chance to live, which Muslims enabled, or which Muslims provided and realized for the Jewish people in particular, and others in general, is one of the greatest achievements throughout the Muslim history. You know, the Jewish people are facing extinction at the hands of other civilizations. The Muslims came to power from Al-Andalus to China, and lo and behold, the survival of the Jewish people, the golden age of the Jewish people, the golden age of the Jewish people. To this day, Jewish scholars pay that tribute to the Muslims. Even hostile scholars like Bernard Lewis, who was a scholar indeed, no doubt, he was a scholar, but he was a hostile scholar. He was quite hostile to the Muslim civilization. Even he had to acknowledge that Muslims did great protecting the Jewish people. Okay, and there are many other Jewish scholars who have talked about how the Muslims protected the Jewish people from extinction. Okay, the golden age of the House of Israel was in Al-Andalus from 900 to 1200. This is what Zion Zohar states in his book, A History of the Mizrahi and Sephardic Jewry. Zion Zohar, okay, Z-O-H-A-R, Zion Zohar, in his book, A History of Sephardic and Mizrahi Jewry, published by the New York University Press. I think that's what the book is titled. Okay, in his book, he clearly highlights the fact that the golden age of the House of Israel was in Al-Andalus from 900 to 1200. For nearly 3 centuries, the Jewish people flourished like never before. And same goes for the Christians living throughout the Muslim civilization. This was one of the greatest, thank you for posting the link again. This was one of the greatest achievements of the Muslim civilization, that coexistence, convivencia, which Maria Rosa Menachol describes in her book titled Ornament of the World, which was posted earlier. Another book I very strongly recommend for you to realize the importance of Muslim Spain is Muslim Spain. It is a 2 volumes work. It is a work that consists of 2 volumes, Muslim Spain, and it has been edited by Salma Khadra Jayusi. Salma Khadra Jayusi. This book is published by the Routledge Press. And all the books I mentioned, brothers and sisters, today, most of them are academic works published by academic institutions. Okay, so Salma Khadra Jayusi has edited this work. Okay, it is titled The Muslim Spain. So, cut the long story short, yeah, the legacy of Muslim Spain. Thank you very much for reminding me. The legacy of Muslim Spain. And there is the link. The legacy of Muslim Spain, edited by Salma Khadra Jayusi, a very, very powerful work, authored by a number of different scholars, edited by Salma Khadra Jayusi. Thank you so much for posting the links again. That makes my life very, very easy. So, the Quran gave rise to the Muslim civilization, and the greatest achievement was that peace, which was achieved by justice of Islam and Muslims, and that justice came directly from the Quran. And the outcome was the progress which most people talk about, which I addressed partly, very briefly earlier. I addressed it, I talked about it, and I gave you the reference to go back. And so if you want to talk about the progress and see the last event that happened in the golden chain of events, then Hidden Debt to Islamic Civilization is your point of consultation, inshallah. So brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed this short lecture today. Okay, it was a very, very short introductory lecture to this topic, the lost Islamic history. Again, I strongly recommend, for a general outlook, the book authored by Firas al-Khatib. Firas al-Khatib has authored this book, The Lost Islamic History. And of course, I hope you took note of other sources I have mentioned. And if you want to listen to my detailed lectures on this topic, lectures, a series I am conducting right now, I mean, as we speak, is going on. I'm recording a series of lectures. It is titled Unveiling the Muslim Civilization. You can find that particular series on my YouTube channel. If you go to my YouTube channel, type Adnan Rashid in YouTube, and you will come across my channel. You'll see the series on my channel, Unveiling the Muslim Civilization. And I address all of these 4 points in a lot more detail in this series. I strongly recommend that particular series for you to understand in a bit more detail as to the achievements of Islam and Muslims and the Muslim civilization, brothers and sisters, okay, and the history we have lost. So I hope we can go back and contemplate a bit more about our history and consult these sources I have mentioned. Start with these sources and you will be blown away. SubhanAllah, you will be completely blown away intellectually, and you will come to realize the true extent, if not all of it, maybe some of it, you will come to realize how the Muslims came to achieve this particular civilization and what was the greatest achievement. Thank you so much for listening. May Allah bless you. I hope you enjoyed this brief talk. And now we will open for questions and answers, inshallah. I'm over to you, my brothers and sisters from UCL.
Okay, well, talking Ustadh for that. Of course, that was just a high-level overview of the topic, but mashallah, I think me personally, I think I can speak for the other brothers here as well and sisters here, that I learned a lot. The Golden Chain especially, we sometimes give lip service to the fact that, oh, the ones who came before us had success in the world because of Islam. But the Golden Chain, I think, especially explains it and solidifies that concept for us. So the Islam, justice, peace, and progress concepts. Okay, so we've had plenty of questions coming in, so we'll try and get through most of them, inshallah. Number one, given that the current history syllabuses in almost all schools are very Eurocentric, how can we teach Islamic history thoroughly to children and teenagers?
Okay, I don't want you to make your history Islamocentric for the rest of the world, but at least make it Islamocentric for yourselves, right? Because you can't blame the European institutions for teaching you European history, because this is what they're like, this is what they admire, this is what they look up to, and it is up to them to teach this history. The question is, where are the Muslim students and scholars teaching their Islamic version, right? And there is no version. History is basically objectivity. History, true history is written objectively, without biases. At the same time, I would like to mention that no one is 100% unbiased. Every single scholar, anyone who says that I am unbiased, even that statement itself is biased. Okay, so there is no such thing as unbiased history. We all have biases. We all have biases, whether we know or not. We have biases, right? At the same time, we need to master our history and start teaching it. Make it Islamocentric. Okay, produce your own intellectuals and thinkers who can actually explain the history of the world in the light of Islamic philosophy, Islamic literature, in the light of philosophy taken from the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, make it Islamocentric. Use the Islamic lens to study the history of humanity. Study Greek history, study Romans, study Babylonia, study, for example, the Egyptian history through learning hieroglyphs and Egyptology. Study all that. Okay, you can study with the Islamic lens. There's nothing wrong with that. If Europeans can use their secular, liberal, capitalist, or even for some reason there are Marxist historians as well, why can't we have Islamicist historians? Okay, what's wrong with that? Why do we feel so reluctant to become Islamicist historians? Okay, not Islamist historians, because the term Islamist has become somewhat very controversial nowadays. I say Islamicist historians, right? Master your Islamic history and use your Islamic lens to study the history of humanity. What's wrong with that? Others are doing it. Why can't you do it? So that's the answer to your question. And I'll try to keep my answers as brief as possible so that I can take a lot more, inshallah. Go ahead. Next question, please.
Question number 2. What would you say to those that don't think it's too important to read and study books in your own time? A big part of the Muslim community is consumed by what's in front of the screens.
And that is one of the greatest difficulties of our times, where we think that reading posts on Facebook, reading or even watching documentaries will teach us anything. No, that is not even scratching the surface. Until we become the most bookly people, we cannot possibly revive the Muslim civilization, its true colors. We were powerful, we were dominant in education, in all the magnificent and great fields, because we were the most bookly people. We were the most bookly people in the world for over 1,000 years. Our libraries were so huge that we still have no count of what we lost in Al-Andalus. For example, we don't know what was burnt after the conquest of Granada in 1492, when Ferdinand and Isabella, a coalition of Castile and Aragon, attacked Granada and took the last stronghold from the Muslims in 1492, and over 1 million books were burnt. We don't know what we lost there. When the Mongols sacked Baghdad in 1258, and when they chucked all the books into the river Tigris, the river Tigris became black because of ink. Okay, we don't know. Wallahi, we have no idea what was lost there. Okay. And why were the Mongols and the Catholics in two different places at two different times destroying books? Why were they destroying books? Because they knew this is what makes these people strong. This is what makes them who they are. Unless we return to books and book collecting, book keeping, book binding, book making, book writing, book reading, we will not revive our great Muslim civilization. So we really need to get into books, brothers and sisters, right? Get off your Facebook and your Instagram and your TikTok and your Snapchat and your of course, I mean, if you want to use it for good purpose, of course, go ahead. It has good use, but spend more time in books and you will see the outcome, inshallah. You will see the outcome in yourselves, inshallah. Next question, please.
Barakallahu feekum. Number 3, what would you say has been the most devastating consequence as a result of us having forgotten our history?
We have lost our Izzah. We have lost our sense of dignity, sense of honor. Most importantly, we have lost our influence in the world. We were the most politically, educationally, intellectually, scientifically dominant force in the world, from Morocco to China for over 1,000 years. We were the greatest civilization mankind had ever seen, right? And we only lost it because we lost appreciation of it. We lost touch, and we have lost any sense of appreciation because we haven't learnt about it. So it is now time to go back and take it seriously. Teach your children about the Muslim civilization. Teach them about your history. Get them to become numismatists. Get them to collect coins from the Muslim civilization. Get them to collect books, manuscripts. Get them to read about all the great things people had written in the past. Get them to read the poetry of Hafiz, for example, Hafiz al-Shirazi, okay, or Al-Mutanabbi, or even Mirza Ghalib in Urdu, okay. So you will see the outcome. So we need to really go back into learning about all the things that were achieved in the past, and we don't need to necessarily live in the past. We need to learn from it and learn our virtues and repeat them, inshallah. That's what I have to say on that.
Jazakallahu khairan. Number 4, what part of history would you advise someone to read into if they don't know much about history, not including the seerah and the life of the Sahaba?
Okay, of course, I would say the most important history is the life of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. And after that, I would strongly recommend that you start with basic overview of the Muslim history. Start reading basic books that give you a brief history of the Muslim history. For example, read about the Umayyads and the Abbasids and the Ottomans and the Mughals and the dynasties in Al-Andalus and in North Africa and the Middle East. And you can have some introduction to these fields in a very short span of time. One of the books I would again strongly recommend is The Lost Islamic History by Firas al-Khatib. That's a good start, inshallah. Okay, and there are some other books. And the dilemma is that we don't have any good introduction to Islamic history. That still needs to be done. And, there are many books, of course, but specifically one book, I simply cannot think of one book that summarizes all these things I'm talking about in one particular volume. Again, Lost Islamic History by Firas al-Khatib is a good start, inshallah. So read about all these things and then choose specific questions and master them. We need people who are experts in these fields. You cannot possibly master all the aspects and all the great achievements of Islam and Muslims. What you can do, however, having had a general outlook or maybe a general introduction to the history of Islam, you can then focus on one particular field or one particular region, one particular period, one particular dynasty or a person, and then, inshallah, you can serve the ummah in that way, inshallah.
Barakallahu feekum. Number 5. Do you think there is a direct link between the loss of Islamic history and the modern demonization of Islam and Muslims?
100%. Absolutely. There is a direct link between Islamophobia and the loss of our history. If we, the Muslims, were truly aware of our history, we would never be able to, we would never accept Islamophobia. We would never, some of us are confused. Actually, most of us are confused because of Islamophobia, because we have no idea about our history. The Islamophobes are Islamophobes because they don't know our history. And because the reason they don't know our history is because we're not teaching it to them. We ourselves don't know our history. We don't know the true achievements. We don't know where to make the links, how to connect the dots, as they say, right? And the golden chain of events I gave you, the Quran, justice, peace, and progress, these 4 points, they give you a map. They give you a structure, right? And you need to really connect the dots, connect the links of the chain, okay? All of these points are interlinked, as I stated earlier. So unless you know about these things, you cannot teach others. So Islamophobes mostly are Islamophobes because they don't know our history. They don't know about our civilization. They're completely ignorant, okay? There are 2 types of Islamophobes, if not more. One's, though, one type is the ones who are absolutely ignorant. The other type is money driven. The other type is being paid. The other type is being funded by some unknown entities to spread hatred around the world against Muslims, in particular in the Western countries, right? And the reason why this is happening is because we are unable, for some reason, to represent our civilization. We are failing to defend it as it should be defended. And the reason for that is because we are simply unaware of what our achievements are in the past, So our precedent is hidden from us. When you go to a court of law and you have to fight your case, you have to always present your good history, right? You have to say in front of the judge that we have a good history. We have done this, right? Therefore, consider our case more favorably, right? And just because the lawyer is crap, okay, the lawyer is failing to represent properly because the lawyer is completely ignorant of the profile of the person, okay? We are seriously lacking in representing our civilization properly. And once we start to do that, inshallah, Islamophobia will be no more eventually, right? So there is definitely a link before Islamophobia, a link between Islamophobia and ignorance of our history.
Barakallahu feekum, Ustadh. That is all we have time for in terms of questions. So before we finish for this evening, obviously we're doing this event as part of Charity Week 2020. So we'd like you, inshallah, we have this event for free tonight, but inshallah we'd like for you to donate to the Everyday Hero page on the screen right now. If you just scan the QR code there, the stylish QR code there on the left, and inshallah we ask for, if you're able to and permitting given your circumstances, £3 if you can, inshallah. As Muslims, we know that charity, as much as we hope it benefits those who we give to, really and truly is to benefit and purify us. So with that, I think we'll wrap up for the evening. Jazakumullah khairan, Ustadh, May Allah bless you in all the works that you do in the
Thank you very
future.
much. It's my honor. Thank you so much to all you brothers and sisters at UCL ISOC for making this possible, and may Allah bless you with more, a lot more in the future, inshallah, and we will continue to help each other. تعاونوا على البر والتقوى وتعاونوا ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran that help each other in good and do not help each other in sinning and bad. So we ask Allah to accept from us. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Allahumma ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.